Hello everyone and welcome to the Deepbluerenegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deepbluerenegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 341. Today is Saturday, October 31st, 2020, and I'm glad you could join me today. It is a beautiful day. Probably need to record swiftly so that I can drag my husband on an adventure to take pictures. And then I'll have to figure out appropriate recording protocol because as you can see by that little bright corner down there, the light's gonna change soon. So it should be interesting, but I'll just have to figure out the appropriate thing to do. It may be the case where I need to actually have proper curtains in this room. Who knows? But we shall see. So, in exciting news, I have finished my Mesa sweater wrap. So this is a Romy Hill pattern that I knit out of my Geneva fleece fiber, which is something that I ended up getting from Salt 23 farm in Wisconsin. I don't think the one that I've linked to in the past is actually the correct one. That I ended up getting at the fiber event in 2014. So this project's been a long one for sure. But I washed the fleece, I dyed the locks, I combed the locks, I hackled the top in order to create 3 different colors that I then applied together in a gradient spanning from teal to purple to blue. And so this ends up being about my wingspan right now. So, I don't know, I guess I should end up taking some photos of the full thing before the light totally degrades, but I may end up accidentally using that time for podcasting, so oh well. Maybe tomorrow, who knows. I actually have yet to properly block anything here, even though I've been here since March, so there's that too. But when I do block this thing, I will try to block it longer instead of, or whatever. I want to block it wider in order to slurp up some of the length because it is very long indeed. If I put it on such that the lacy bit is by my collar and the face, then the end of this bad boy is actually pretty close to my ankles, and I did leave my progress keeper in here because I did end up knitting a decent amount this week in order to finish it. Yeah, no, I did 6.5 inches this week. So if I wear it in this configuration, then like sleeves show up at a really nice place on it. It's a very nice light layer, and then I get all of those gorgeous blues and teals closer to my face. Let's see, I'm trying to skip up. But you can sort of see here how there is an awful lot of length. Yeah, I didn't think that I was going to show it off when I started. You can see me in the mirror. So, there is a lot of it. Now, if I wear it the other way, which I'm wondering is going to actually be the better way, it's a lot more manageable. And the way that this fabric sort of moves and drapes is really, really nice. So, in this case, what I've done here is I'm actually wearing it in the inside out, upside down configuration, and I've folded it like so. And that has taken a lot of the length and hidden it away. And then when I rotate around, it's a much more reasonable total length. So there is no danger of me dragging on the floor when I'm wearing it this way. So you still get to see all of the nice texture. This is, so then I have the teal purple, heading into the pure purple, which ends up getting a little bit obscured, and then purple blue here. And then looking from behind, you end up getting the full impression of the gradient, maybe with a little bit striped up. So you can wear it 4 different ways, actually with an optional 5th. But the first way I showed you is right side out, right side up. This is wrong side out, upside down, and then you have your other 2 variations from there. I do like this one quite a lot from that configuration, and it's pretty cozy with that double layer. So this results in like the most luscious shawl color I have ever met. Probably the last 3 weeks of knitting have been this way. There is a little bit of curling on this, so I don't know if blocking is going to resolve that or what. Who knows? Who knows? And what would it be? It's definitely the case where you do have to pay a little bit of attention because it can get like a little bit lopsided, but whatever. It's not too crazy. Once you sort of get it on, then it stays nicely in place. And then I do have the option of maybe like pinning it closed or something like that if I want it to be better attached. So overall, not too shabby, I would say. Would it be? When I'm wearing it the other way, it's definitely not as good for sitting. This way is a little bit better. So this has been going on since April or April of 2014, depending on when you start keeping count, though I did end up waiting many years before actually starting to work on it. So hand-spun project, full fleece 2 sweater, so not too crazy. And it is a, whatever, we're trying to figure out what the appropriate name would be for this. It might be a blanket again, because it does operate in many, what would it be? It is the cardigan version of a snuggie. But what I didn't mention was I'm using 5th way, which is Ghost. I dare YouTube to take this as my, I dare YouTube to take this as my, screen still. So this is only really valid for a Halloween, but it amuses me because whatever, you're just making things fly around in order to make it work. So I haven't quite dealt with the leftovers yet. I did spend this afternoon taking 2 hours to weave in an end because I was watching a show with subtitles. It would have been much more efficient had I not been doing that. But here is the full gradient in gradient order. So teal, 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 blue, 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 teal, blue, 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 purple, 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 blue, purple, 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 teal, and teal, teal, purple. So all skewered on there and hopefully not dipping into the coffee. So this is, each ball represents less than a row, or less than a pair of rows in order to finish. Basically, I just kept knitting this bad boy until I had about 2 grams remaining. I think it was like 2.25. And then I did the bind off, which was like the stretchy knit two together kind. So, which should match pretty nicely with what would it be, the bind off that I use for the sleeves and stuff like that. So, not too crazy there. So I do need to sit down and quantify all these little balls, but I will probably be, I might end up storing them as little mini skeins in my handspun leftover stash, because if I do need to dip into them in order to do any repairs or stuff like that, I have a little bit of every color, because this project is definitely of the mastery variety. So it'd be the case where part of the joy of this project was that I put some time into every single component. Would it be not that I had created my own design in order to knit the sweater, but at the very least I heavily modified an existing one in order to take advantage of that. And does harken back to other projects in which I make the sweater much longer than it needs to be just because I want to use all the handspun. I may need to take this as a lesson. Oh well, this hand, whatever, the framing that I've selected today does make that a little bit more challenging. And as we can see, the sun is creeping in and you can no longer see the fiber in the bottom bit. So, tick tock, tick tock. So, this project's done. I need to drag my husband up the hill and we shall take beautiful photos on top of the hill, because what would it be? It would be too much effort to make a small portion of the house aesthetic enough to take photos of this. And I think I might actually change out of this shirt. I might wear something more neutrally for the photos, because what would it be? Like, while I'm perfectly happy wearing this sweater with the t-shirt, I may want to have something slightly fancier for the photos. So, I did end up having a half-finished object. So, I did finish my first now and neck sock. So this is a Hey Brown Berry pattern that I'm knitting out of Southern Cross fiber in the Desert Rose colorway. And this is reasonably true to color here. We already know that this sweater is not true to color on the camera, so it doesn't really matter, but this is pretty good. It's, some lights will make it look maybe a little bit more orange, but it's definitely, there's some bright orange pops in here, but it's a lot of like reds and browns. What would it be? And, okay, collecting my thoughts. I had 350 yards and about 100 grams because this fiber came from Australia. They're on metric instead of imperial. And so I didn't get as much yardage out of this bad boy than maybe I was hoping for, which resulted in when I ended up knitting this at a pretty dense 9.5 stitch per inch gauge, meant that I ended up burning through a decent amount of yarn. So I believe that this sock, or actually I haven't weighed the sock, but I have 54 grams left of the other one, but I did end up weighing the ball because it looked like it was greatly depleted. But what's nice about this sock is that it has this lovely texture pattern, and then the other side is lots of plain stockinette. So you have a little bit of something that you need to do on every row, but it's an awful lot of cruising on this sock. And I'm sort of glad that they sort of have, or that she ended up putting this proportion on, because it means that you get the interest without it being a drag. So, not too crazy there. This was part of many knit-alongs for which I will probably fail for a decent number, because I did not, because I spent 2 hours weaving in an end in the toe instead of motoring on the other sock. And here is the other sock. So I rewound the ball so that it would be a little bit more compact, and I'm actually pulling from the outside this time. I don't know why. And then I have a cuff. So this is how far I ended up getting yesterday, I think. I think it was yesterday. So not a ton of progress. Are the odds okay that I would be able to finish by the 15th of November for Denise's Falling Leaves sock cal? Maybe. Will I be finishing for the sock knitters Pussycat cal? Probably not. I will not be finishing for the Knit Girls cal or Socktober. I did make it count for the Bay Area Fiber Fair, so, because never had I ever turned a heel on an item circ. I think I'll just break out the double points though for this one. Interesting point. I wonder where my... Oh, no, I got it. This normally lives in the project bag, but it got separated. So I have all of the markers I used here, and so when I get into the pattern, then I'll put more markers in. But right now I just have a beginning of row. So really gorgeous yarn. It's definitely much darker going on the outside, so they, in true handspun sock fashion, will be a fraternal. They'll be a fraternal twins. They have sibling resemblance. As you do. So, not too crazy there, but we'll see how everything comes together. It just seemed to take, I guess I did Kitchener the toe closed and weave in the end in 2 hours, but that's really slow. Really, really slow. But I did get to have the joy of using my very rare signature 0 double points, so I'm truly glad that I was at the right time, in the right place in order to get them, because I do really, really love using them. They are a very fantastic tool. So, sock. I even had to figure out a way to get at the blocker because I was keeping it up there, but I had all my stitch markers on it too. And so it was a bit of a pain extracting all of the whatever rings of stitch markers from there in order to access it. Oh. Live and learn. I won't be repeating that mistake, or I will be putting an easier to remove thing there. So let's see. after all of the bits and pieces. Oh, that wasn't supposed to happen. So, the next thing I want to talk about is my new cast on. So, I ended up winding my 3 skeins of the Mesa Twin. 2 of these are skeins that I ended up getting from the shop in Germany, and then this one on the bottom was a gift from my mother-in-law, I believe. Something like that. Yeah. So this guy is a name skein. These 2 were different. This one had this one on top was, I guess, off on the colorway, and this one here in the middle did have a knot, which I found as I was winding it. So I will have to fix that. It may be the case where it will take a really, really long time for me to get there. So I am holding these doubled in various different ways in order to create a 10 stitch blanket, which is a pattern by Frankie Brown. And we're almost ripping it off the table. That is out of view, and I'll have to fix that. So there is something like a little bit funny with the Guide to the Galaxy colorway. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. So what I am doing, I guess I'll just sort of have to weave those bad boys in. But what I'm doing is a 10 stitch blanket with these colors. So because of the short color runs and sort of how it's pooling, you end up getting sort of a very interesting effect. So this center square here is just Hoochie Mama, and then I held Hoochie Mama with Martha for 2 sides. Then I held Martha by itself for 1, and then I held Martha with Guide to Galaxy for 2 sides, and now I'm doing Guide to the Galaxy just by itself. So what this means is that I get 2 segments held together, 1 segment held with itself, and then another segment with it held together with the next color. So this means that I'm creating a gradient of sorts where some of the colors from one are incorporated into the next, so on and so forth. And because there's 5 total segments, this means that this single one is going to start slowly rotating around the blanket because I have 3 colors with me. So hopefully it won't be too crazy. This is a really straightforward pattern. It's not very hard to do. But this is a baby blanket for my sister, who is due in March-ish, I believe. So there is plenty of time to work on it. But it may just be the case where I just want to get it over with, as you do. So I'm not quite sure how big I'm gonna end up making it. It is quite possible that after I make it as big as I want it to be, I could be using this yarn held together in order to make a baby surprise jacket, possibly. We shall see what I end up deciding. But it is fairly mindless knitting, so that is good. More garter for the people. I really like that I included the Martha in there because I think the bright pops of yellow are really, really nice. And then we have sort of like a teal and a magenta that are sort of common between all of the colors. And then, yeah, so not too crazy. But yeah, no, there does seem to be maybe something a little bit strange about the Guide to the Galaxy, so hopefully that isn't a deal breaker or a problem, but there definitely would it be sliced threads in here, so I'm not entirely sure what went down. And we'll figure it out. So it may just be the case where it'll be a little bit of extra work in order to hide those appropriately. So fun so far, but it'd be the case where a very essential component of this is scissors. So I made a 10-stitch blanket for my brother's son, and I ended up doing just fingering weight held single, and I ended up carrying the 3 yarns up this side, and I ended up probably sacrificing a decent amount of blanket size because I sort of got to the point where I was a pretty significant amount of yarn was being carried all around and around and around, and it would have been easier. It would have been more annoying at the beginning to cut, but it probably would have saved a decent amount of yarn to cut. So that is what I'm actually doing the cutting here, but I don't have as many ends because I have 5 segments of using the color by itself, and then I only end up creating a new end whenever I change colors, and then I've been knitting it in, but I'll have to hide it a little bit better because sometimes you don't get that perfect amount, so you get a little tail, like here. I don't know who's trying to text me. But, so this needs to actually get a proper project bag. I just ended up starting, I wound the yarn last night and started. So, decent amount of area so far, so it may be the case where I end up making this 30 inches and then decide where to go from there if I want to then use the rest of the yarn for a baby surprise to continue this gartery theme. But I think the way Mesa is dyed ends up making it look really nice in this 10-stitch pattern, so we're going to get lots of bright, cheerful colors, which is good. Makes me happy. So, and then hopefully it'll go faster than whatever the nephew blanket I made because it's DK. And I'm knitting it on 6s. I don't remember what I knit the first one on, so maybe in fact there is no difference. Who knows? I tried. So the other exciting thing was that, so I bound this bad boy off on Thursday. So I ended up deciding to get spinning on my next sweater project, or at the very least start working on my sweater spin again. Like, you know how there was like this slight guilt involved in being like, spinning for the next sweater is getting in the way of me finishing the current sweater, like, so that was sort of my thought process there. Up, the sun is growing. There isn't any place safe in this room to have yarn out in the open that does not get hit by the sunlight. Because, basically, because it is a west-facing room, like, there is nowhere. So, now that we're sort of in more of the equinox sort of area, it just means that there's a larger amount of time where that's occurring. So, I got started again on the Three Waters Farm background blue. So this is fiber that was a part of the Completely Twisted and Arbitrary Spin Along, and I spun the first bobbin as it came in the braid, basically. So I just spun the 4 ounces end to end and called it a day. For the other plies, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go this way now, is I took those 2 bags, split it into quarters, and so I'm gonna have, I did quarters? Yeah, I did quarters. Quarters long ways. And so I had 2 from either bag, and then 2, or what would it be? Grab 2 from each bag. I've been alternating making bats, so this ended up resulting in a much smoother color. So this is sort of the average of having that light, the dark, and this half, whatever. It's sort of like a sky blue, sort of a smoky, bluish gray, and then what's not shown on the bobbin is sapphire. There's sapphire somewhere in here, but you can't see. So when you average this all together, you get, what would it be? Maybe like a slightly grayed out blue. And you can still maybe see some of the tonality as you're looking through this strip of bat. But what you end up spinning is something that is a fairly solid color. So I'll get the variegation from this guy, but then I have the solid color from this guy. So not too crazy. I'm trying to figure out the best way to show. So there is still sort of bright pops of the light, the medium, and the dark, which is really, really pretty. Maybe it will be too subtle to even be in the finished yarn, but I think it'll work. It's going nicely. So what I did was I am just alternating stripping from bats. So I took my bat and I sort of started to strip it, and so I made 8 little segments, and then I worked one all the way off and then took the other one and worked one of them all the way off. So I'll just be alternating between spinning from the bats in case there are color variations. This will help average it out a little bit. So that means each strip is what? If I have 16 total strips out of 4 ounces, each one's about half an ounce. So I've spun at least 2 strips, maybe 3 at this point, so not too crazy. Would it be nice to be spinning again? And then, what was it? As I was sorting through everything, what I ended up doing last week was I sat down and I had like a little clay pot that I had made that was full of all of the skein ties and random small scraps of yarn and that sort of thing that I used to tie skeins together. And so I've discovered that all of my shameful Romney has actually been consumed and is holding my handspun yarn together. But what I ended up doing was sort of splitting it into 2 groups, because some of the scraps in there had gotten attacked by carpet beetles, so they were dead, whatever, they were too short to be used in tying yarn. And then I kept everything that was about the right length. I didn't go so far as to cut them to be the right length for skein ties. I'll just have to accept the fact that I'll have to cut them in order to make some of them the right length. But it was good to sort of sort through all of that, separate the too short from the certainly long enough. And what I ended up finding was a chunk of cotton. Probably from a class I ended up taking, because it was really just nothing more than a sample. But this is the little cotton chunk I ended up spinning. So I just ended up taking out my one of my Turkish spindles. I'm thinking the Finch. I took one of my Jenkins Turkish spindles and I just spun the single and then plied it from the ball. And so now I just have this cute little cotton sample. But So there was just a little wee bit of spinning before I'd properly finish this, as you do. And so I still need to mail the package to my mom. What would it be? I don't know if I'm just gonna wait until after election day to go do that, or just accept the fact that I need to bring it with me when I go to the grocery store. It may be the case where I end up doing it on election day. Because I have election day off, so I might just go grocery shopping. The fridge is looking so bare right now. But yeah, no, definitely would it be feeling the desire to be on vacation and that sort of thing. So would it be, and some stupid easy things that should be well within my capabilities are getting procrastinated on really hard, if you know what I mean. So as you do. So, I keep getting amused by the sun slowly but surely completely blowing out my entire stash. Or maybe this is the secret reason why I keep the blue chair here, because the blue chair acts as the wall that protects the sun from hitting my handspun. Who knows? So I ended up getting a text from my aunt who was like, "What is your address?" So I gave it to her. And I ended up getting a package from my cousin. So way back in 2015, I went to Idaho for my other cousin's wedding, and I wore my Viajante, the blurple one with the pearly beads. And so my cousin Erin was like, "Oh wow, that is amazing. I really, really want one." And so she found this bag at Joann's and she sent a little note, and it was like, "I haven't forgotten." To be fair, I did carry yarn to knit Viajante for her in the stash in exile. It's scannable Mesa lace sitting over there, ready to go. So, 5 years is a really, really long time. She remembers. She wants it. This is the sign to me that I cannot get out of knitting it for her. So there may be some more boring knitting for the people in the future. We shall see. Maybe when I finish the socks, I can start on that project too. So, but this is truly my test. I recommend that everyone have an exceedingly high bar for giving your knits away, because I do believe that that ends up resulting in the most knitworthy people. Would it be like my grandfather badgered me for socks for many times? I don't know. Enough times that I realized that he was actually quite sincere about it. And to be quite frank, he is the most knitworthy person I know. So, would it be my cousin Erin has proven that she was willing to go upon the quest. So, I can't deny it. I'm gonna have to make it for her. So the only question is, what would it be? When do I get to knit of the many sweater quantities that are lurking in my stash? And I guess the answer is not yet. I do have to laugh a little bit because I would very much so enjoy to be able to start the Isbray, which would be using up some handspun that I received as a gift, and full Mesa lace, as you do, because full Mesa lace is the only yarn that I have enough of to make a sweater at will. Or what would it be? I don't know, do I have? Yeah. The other sweater quantities have plants. The wool Mesa lace, you don't need a plant to knit a sweater with it. That's what I mean. It's just sweater insurance right there. So really, do I need to readjust the position of the wool Mesa lace so it's next to all of the sweater quantities, or accept the fact that I need curtains? We shall see. But I'm thinking that's everything. What would it be? I ended up putting away, my mother-in-law ended up sending a surprise package which had a single 9-inch Haya circular in it. I think it was like a US 2, which wouldn't be my normal for knitting socks, but could be my normal for knitting sweaters. She tried the 9-inch circ and did not like it. I have tried the 9-inch circ and liked it, so this is reasonable. It's just that gentle redistribution of needles. You have to try it to find out if you like it, and if you don't like it, then you find someone who does. So, not too crazy there. But yeah, no. So that is the current pile of stuff. So, finished an epic project that has gone on for several years. Halfway done with a pair of socks, for which I will only be able to count it for 2 knit-alongs. Unless a miracle occurs, and I'm really not looking to make that happen. I have started a baby blanket, which is probably not as high a priority as it needs to be. Spinning has resumed, and my cousin remembered. So my next project may just have to be the Viajante, because. But there'll be beats, so it could be fun. And maybe I just need to hold out the hope of the Isbray in order to, what would it be, make that happen. So that would probably start with trying to figure out which skein of Mesa lace is most compatible with the handspun. So there might be a little bit of searching to figure that out. I might just take a bunch of pictures to feed the Instagram. So what would it be? I think so. I haven't run out of coffee yet, so not too crazy. Oh, and there's also the Weekender yarn too. Someone had a question about the Weekender. Yeah, no, I guess that would be the other thing, was that I did end up trying out a new knitting group. So I ended up getting invited way back in February to join the Pig and Whistle knitting group. It turned out that I ended up going to their meeting place before I ended up getting accepted into their private Facebook group, and did not find out that and I didn't end up finding out that no one was going to be there that night. So they are meeting on Zoom. So would it be? It was a good time. The issue is that if you think about like my own mood seems to have like a shape based on the day of the week, and Mondays and Tuesdays are not good days for me. And even if I somehow force Monday and Tuesday to be a good day, then yeah, it would be just like sort of lame to know that you always are gonna have 2 days of the week, or at least one day a week where it's just awful, but that's where I am at right now. So I haven't gone because normally I am not having anything on Mondays for sure, but it was nice. So I will probably end up joining them for commiseration and whatnot. Whatever. Distraction mostly on election night, so whatever. It'll like I know it won't be decided Tuesday night, so would it be? I think it's mostly for distraction purposes because there's been an awful lot of attention and stress related to all of that, as you do. So I may need to make sure that I buy some blueberry Wensleydale, but I may have missed my opportunity to buy blueberry Wensleydale. gotta break that one. Or would it be? Gotta break the bad karma on that one for sure. But yeah, so there isn't too much that I can do about it. I've done everything that what would it be is within my capability to do about it, so can't let it worry me too much. But I'm wondering if some of my crazy sleep could be attributed to would it be reading too much news. So proof of thought, I guess. I don't know. But what would it be? I did do the proper grown-up thing. I did subscribe to the New York Times, so it would be like Amy Beth said, I am now supporting it with my dollars like a responsible adult. So with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, or at the very least an okay one. And I look forward to talking to you guys next time. So take care, guys. Bye.